Good day. It's Rob Deptford here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And on my left, my right-hand man and my partner in crime, Joseph L. Jones Jr. down in Orlando, Florida. Good day, Joseph.
Good day, Rob. Happy to be back with you.
Likewise. This has been fun so far. I'm glad we are keeping this rolling. We've been talking a lot about getting vocal on video, which is incidentally the title of the program, the title we've given to this program. But some of the benefits of video with respect to the marketing and communications efforts of companies, branding in particular is a discussion we had recently. And we wanted to get into short form video in particular this time and talk about how that works for you or may not work for you depending on your strategy. But certainly is growing and may otherwise be known as social video because that tends to be the distribution platform for a lot of short form videos these days.
Well, it looks like social media is set up and designed specifically for short-term videos. You know, sometimes, as they say in the business, just a dab will do you. You don't necessarily have to drench people with content for long minutes or even for an hour. Just a little bit of information that's power-packed with powerful information that they can immediately put into practice. That's what's really called for right now. So the short form and the social media form is serving very well for business industry leaders who are trying to get a message across very quickly.
And quickly is the key, I think. And when we look at some of the statistics out there, it's very interesting because it is really exploding in the digital space as a tool for marketing and branding efforts. We're learning more as more companies jump on board. And what it looks like from some of the research right now, Wistia was one in particular that I recall, where they talked about how engagement is quite good. I believe it's around 70% on average for the first 2 minutes of a video. But after that, it starts to decline quite rapidly. And I believe it was down to 50% engagement or so by 3 to 4 minutes and continued to drop off after that. So we really have about 2 minutes to really captivate and tell our story.
Well, you got to catch their attention early. And I'm sure you know this, being a master of what you do with respect to videos. If you don't really catch their attention at the beginning, then they're not going to stick around to see what you have to offer minutes down the line. So you want to hit them with that quick impact. And you want to make sure that that first blow is something that's going to capture them and keep them locked in at least for a minute or so. But you want to get all of your points out, and you want to do that as efficiently as possible. But you got to do it in those first couple of minutes. After that, they're gone.
Absolutely. And in some cases, you are actually restricted technically by the platform where you may want to distribute the video, right? So Instagram, for example, limits you to 60 seconds. If you're posting in the standard feed, there are some options with IGTV and other things you can do. But 60 seconds really goes by quickly.
It goes quickly, but that's the format that we're given. The same thing with Facebook. A lot of us are now utilizing, particularly in Facebook and Instagram, it's the news and the story feeds. And that's where you get those, 60-second blocks and those quick stories that you got to get out. But it's all geared toward a generation that's used to receiving things very, very quickly and then moving on to something else. So you have to get that content out there literally in seconds. And then after that, they're moving on to something else.
It's attention spans, right? It's the old 30-second or 60-second television commercial may even be too long.
That's exactly right. Back in the day, we sit there and we'd enjoy the whole thing. Even if you look at sports, for example, they're looking at a crisis now in baseball because games are going, 3-4 hours, sometimes 4.5 hours. And the newer generation don't necessarily have that type of attention span. Well, it's the same concept in business. The new entrepreneurs that are coming up now, They want to do things quickly, and they're that way because their audience is that way. So the idea is to make it as compact as possible with as much information as possible, but get it out as quickly as possible in a short amount of time.
Do you remember doing your first video?
I do indeed. I do indeed. And interestingly enough, it was probably about 9 minutes. It was about 9 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's a very long period of time to do a video. But now I've shortened them down to maybe a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah. And I try to do that too. I remember doing my first video. It was a couple of years ago at least. I had been invited to speak at a conference for geologists, and so I thought, well, gee, you know, yeah, imagine. And I don't know anything about geology really, but I thought, you know, maybe I'll just announce this on social media because I had seen more and more people doing it. So I sat down and made a short video just saying, hey, I'm going to be speaking at this conference on, you know, whatever the date was. And that, as it turns out, is one way to utilize short form video. When you have some other event that you want to promote, it can work very well. And there are other reasons too, and branding plays into this as well. How do you see that? How do you find it working for you, and how do you see others using these short videos?
Well, I see it exactly the way that you just described it. It's more of a lead-in to other things, like to the event that you were just speaking to. The short video led into the event that was obviously a longer presentation, but the idea is to get them to that larger event. And that's where the short video comes into place. For example, if you have a product that you're trying to get out, you just need a short video to kind of introduce it and lead them into the expanded product. And so that's where it's effective.
Yeah, and I do, I know you have your Mound Building Mondays, and if people haven't seen that,
Yes.
They need to go to your YouTube channel because they're just terrific for a little bit of Monday motivation and inspiration, and we all need that on a Monday especially, I think.
Yes.
And those are not long. Those are not long videos. And I do things like vid tips, where there's a minute or two just talking about some of the things you may do to get into video or maybe improve what you're already doing. And I think what I see a lot of other people do as well is really use these short videos to document what's happening almost behind the scenes in their businesses, which I think there's an appetite for these days.
There is an appetite for that, and people are very interested in knowing the journey, knowing the process of how a product or a business is emerging. And they want to stay updated with when it's a topic that they're interested in. So they want to see how it comes about. And that's where it's helpful in terms of whether it's the Mound Building Monday or the tips that you can utilize or how you can do something better. The short video form certainly helps with that. And it alerts the audience as to really how they can do the same thing, because everyone has a passion and a product that they're very interested in putting out. So when they're looking around and watching the way that people present themselves on video and present their products on video, they get ideas. So hopefully and prayerfully, we're sending forth ideas that people can actually utilize and put into place to advance their business, expand their business, and get their messages out.
Well, when we think about using these things for branding, using short-term videos for branding purposes, I think about, we talk about branding as being how we want to be known. And so the opportunity to see behind the scenes and actually get a sense of, this is not just some corporation, some entity. Mm-hmm. There are actually real people behind what's happening here in this company. And they do things just like, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like I do, right? I think there's some element of relatability that comes from that, as we've talked about before, and I think that is important to people.
Relatability is the key. They have to be able to connect with you as an individual and see some aspect of themselves or some aspect of themselves that they can be in what you're presenting and what you're doing. And then take that and translate that into whatever product or service that they're trying to render as well. So the relatability point is key. And that's why it's important to be able to show your process and document your process so that they can see behind the scenes and see what you're doing, even sometimes see some of the challenges that you're meeting as you begin to explore and develop your business.
Do you ever talk to anybody and give them advice on what they should be doing if they're thinking about this?
I do run across that quite often with individuals who see my videos or hear about my work or get in touch with me. And yes, I give them advice on some of the things that they want to consider. And the first word that comes to me, Rob, is first you have to identify. You have to identify what it is that you really want to convey to the public. And that identification process is key because that's going to be the framework or the boundaries around which you direct your message to the public. So first you have to identify what it is that you want to present. Then you have to define whatever product, service it is that you're rendering. You have to give it a definition so that people understand. Sometimes it's something that a person is not necessarily familiar with, but it's a passion of yours. But just because it's a passion of yours doesn't necessarily mean it's an immediate passion for those who are watching. So you want to quickly define it.
Okay, I lost your audio. I wonder if you're still there. Let's see. Can I hear you now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Did I go out there?
Yeah, just dropped out there for a second. So.
Okay.
But great points. I think you're bang on the money there when we talk about how it really is about presenting something of value to your audience. And as much as it may be fun to create content that is about what we enjoy and what we like, it may not be the kind of content that captures the attention of those who are watching. And so we have to be constantly thinking about, well, what would my audience want? What would they think? How would they like to receive this kind of information or value that I have to present? And then craft our message and create the video, the final product around that, keeping the audience in mind.
Right. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. But first, you have to be clear about all of those things before you start your presentation, because you don't want to try and figure that out along the way. You want to make sure that you're clear about that at the beginning.
Absolutely. And consistency too, right? Which we've talked about in branding before. We're doing a series here, and this is not short form video by any stretch. And there are some reasons for that. We present this on YouTube, and I think users of YouTube will come to that platform for other reasons. We're not necessarily trying to captivate instantly and get people to hang on for the message. People are behaving a little bit differently on YouTube as a platform. But if we were to take some snippet of one of these things and post 60 seconds or 30 seconds on Facebook or LinkedIn or some other platform that we tend to use, there again, we're tying into the bigger picture. And there's some advantage in that, in hopefully drawing people into the longer program if they're actually interested. Again, it's about the audience. If the audience is interested, maybe they'll tune in for a little more time.
Well, trustfully, with what we're doing here on YouTube, we've been able to at least get their attention long enough for them to stick around and listen to the rest of what we have to say. But with this particular format on YouTube, what we want to make sure is that the title is something that resonates with the time, and that the people that are watching can actually say, well, that's something that I'm really interested in. Getting vocal on video is important right now, because obviously there's not a lot of other ways to get vocal during this time that we're in right now. So this is the correct medium. And I think and know that this is a video format and a video title that people can relate to and connect with and take advantage of the information herein so that they can get their message out in the biggest, the broadest, and the best way.
Hey, I couldn't agree more. This keeps us connected, doesn't it? I keep saying make connections, not
Yes.
commercials, and this is certainly the way to do that in these times.
Absolutely. We are the commercials now. So we have to utilize that platform.
Terrific. Anything else to add, Joseph?
Well, the only thing that I want to add is that right now, a lot of people are really reconstructing their lives, and they're searching for ways to get their business moving, get their message out, and getting vocal on video is the way to do that. Whether it's short form and an introduction into a greater expanded product, or whether it is a longer message or a more in-deep and in-detail product that they're getting out. They want to make sure that they get started by getting vocal on video and take the first step. I always say take the first step. You know, don't look at it as looking at the entire journey. Just look at what do I need to do now? And then the next thing after that. Don't overcomplicate it. Make it simple. And then your public and the people that are out there listening, they'll appreciate that because they'll only be able to assimilate just a little bit at a time anyway. So just take the step and go step by step after that, and you'll get to your goal.
Joseph L. Jones Jr., full of wisdom as always. Just apologize for the audio here. People may be hearing, I don't know, you've got a hurricane in the area, and you said you've been missed, fortunately, but maybe that's got something to do with our technical difficulties. But most of it's pretty good, so I hope people get some value out of this. Certainly encourage people to check out the other episodes that we've done of these, both on Joseph's YouTube channel and mine as well. And I hope to see you for the next one. I'll see you soon.